Hi, I'm Justin Mormon.
And I'm Katie Thornton, and this is the Re-Education of Schools podcast,
where we have open, honest conversations about how to better understand social-emotional learning, trauma-informed care, the whys behind student behavior, and how to help kids navigate it all as they go through school and life.
All right. Well, this episode is a special one. We are honored to have the lead pastor from Southbrook Christian Church, Charlie McMahan, join us today, which so happens to be where I attend church. Charlie has taken a small church to a large organization with clearly defined initiatives and growth. Charlie has a heart for leadership and has developed a Leaderwise series speaking on this exact topic. Amazing leadership, no matter the organization, is worthy to peel back and see how it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Charlie, just thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
I think the thing that we really, and Katie already mentioned it, right? But the idea that leadership isn't really defined necessarily by one specific type of organization. And I think the more that people study leaders and leadership as a whole, they find that over and over again, right? There's some things that transcend, you know, whether you're leading a company that's building cars, or whether you're leading a company that's selling products online, or whether you're leading a company that's dealing exclusively with people. There's some kind of ideas and thoughts and ways of going about stuff that kind of seem to just always be there and permeate no matter what. So that's why we wanted to have you on. We thought it was a great opportunity to be able to learn a little bit from you, specifically as we talk about schools and how schools really just need positive, strong leadership as well. So thank you for being on.
My pleasure.
All right, well, we're going to jump in. We know we only have always so much time. So, hey, great leadership is essential for any organization's growth, including schools. Can you share a little bit to start off about Southbrook and the intentional leadership practices that you've put in place that's contributed to a little bit.
In 1992, so I've been there a little bit. 34 years last week, actually. Last week's 34 years. Yeah. And the church had just been planted and was struggling. The founding pastor left, and I got a call and came and I saw the opportunity. You know, in the early 90s, Centerville especially was really growing, and it was just a great opportunity. But I did my research, and I knew that South Dayton, if you threw a rock up, it would come down on a church building. Yeah. So you didn't need another church in Centerville. You didn't need another normal church. So I didn't. I'm a strange pastor in the sense that I don't really like church. I don't like religion for sure. And we had a very clear vision to do something different. Methods are many, principles are few. Principles never change, methods always do. So Jesus' way of saying that was wineskins. The wine will expand, so you have to put it in new wineskins. In other words, flexible, leathery wineskins, and so that's your containers, that's your communication methods and structures. And a podcast is a wineskin. It's sure. The message is the wine, and so we said we're going to do something methodologically that's really different. And it's interesting. I had a conversation with a gentleman who's 80 years old, came to our church for the first time yesterday. And he goes, last night I was watching a Sister Act with my daughter. She wanted to watch Sister Act. I said, oh my gosh, Pat. I said, we used to show that movie to people who understand why we were doing what we were doing. That they took songs and they changed the lyrics and that's what we did. Ironically, I really studied Howard Schultz, and people sometimes say, "How did you learn to lay one brick on top of another organization?" Like I said, I learned from a Jewish coffee maker, because how he built Starbucks. It's in the book. Pour Your Heart Into It. It's a tremendous treatment of how to build an experiential organization. Yeah. So Katie, you're there. We don't just give the message in a dull fashion. We work to keep your attention. We work to keep your attention, and for that hour, we're working to keep your attention, and And I think that's the core of any organization. We had a very clear vision to connect people to Christ, not religion. Religion is what you do to impress God, but Christianity is the opposite. That's what God's done to reach you. And so we were very intent on, you know, the church has to eliminate man-made ideologies that don't matter, methods, etc. And so that was so foundational. I came in; they had a traditional eldership, a very congregationally led model. I said, "You guys want me to lead?" They said, "Yeah." "You sure?" "Yeah." I said, "We're going to have a plurality of a leadership team, but it's going to be a staff-led church."
So the distributed leadership model that we talk about a lot, that's what you're talking through, a distributed leadership model.
Yes, that's right. And, you know, I was really influenced by Gordon McKenzie's book on Hallmark. His book on Hallmark is really amazing, where leadership has to be, you know, he said, you know, we see leadership as being this pyramid. He said, it actually, you know, with all the authority flowing down, he said, that's not leadership. Leadership is a tree, and the leaders are the root system that resources what you see above ground. And that became our model. And then the fruit that comes from that, the people, the kids, that is the result of the upside down model. It's servant leadership is what it is. Yeah. But that's the upside down model that you're a resourcer. And, you know, that was really important. That was really, really important to us early on, because when you're trying to do something different, you have to define who you're not trying to reach as much as who you're trying to reach. So we were trying to be a church that didn't just attract other disenfranchised church people. We wanted to be outside that transfer portal. And so we knew it was important to not appeal to other people that were very churchy in their ecclesiology, in their view of how churches have to be structured. So we knew, for example, by calling it the leadership team instead of the eldership, the function was the same of plurality, leadership in the context of a plural body. But by not calling it eldership in our tradition, that's not real. That's not a real church.
Yeah, sure.
That's not a real church. Well, we thought, no, I think God's more important. What's more important to him is the function. That's what's revealed in Scripture, is the function of plurality. Not the term elder just means experienced leaders. That's what it meant. It meant seasoned leaders. So we also did a really hard dive into, for example, we're not going to do the company line when it came to women in leadership. Our tradition was, you know, women did Sunday school and that was it. And that in the kitchen. And we said, there's something about that does not resonate. I was raised that way. And we did a year-long study into taking a holistic biblical approach to women in leadership. And our conclusion came down to leadership is about gifts, not gender.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And that was hard because people think, oh, you're just accommodating culture. No. Culture where there is hierarchy based on gender, that's fallen. Yeah. And including some churches' cultures. It's actually, you know, a fallen, flawed system. So anyhow, it was very important that I bear the brunt of, for example, guys, we're doing away with the eldership. That was not a popular move.
No. Yeah. So you see, like, even when schools take initiative, you see growing pains.
That's right.
With that. And as the leader, you have to kind of, what is that quote by, I think it's Malcolm X, like, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for everything.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
So the good leadership model is really putting your beliefs behind there and, like, following through with initiative with the research and the...
That's right.
Yeah.
And behind excellence, there's always a bad guy. You will never find excellence in any realm without someone who's bore the brunt of the pain of that. There's no such thing as painless power. Any effect that you guys have, somebody's bearing pain somewhere, and usually it's change. You have to be a change agent because you're changing what was usually mediocre, sometimes good, and that's the enemy of great. You want to be great? You can't accept good. And that's where people really, get out of whack, is when you change something that this is good, but we think this could be great.
So I'm going to ask, so I'm already off script.
It's
Katie,
okay.
So, sorry about that for you.
Yeah.
But so I'm going to ask, so schools in a similar way, right? So one of the parallels, I think, between churches and schools is that schools have been doing stuff, by and large, a very similar way for a really long time. Mm-hmm. They've been doing it one kind of way for a really long time, and approaching students in one kind of way for a very long time. And from what I'm hearing you say, at least in kind of your church's background, maybe things have been happening one certain way for quite a while. And why is it worth, or I guess, how do you set yourself up to not just crumble under maybe all the pressure, mm-hmm. if you're trying to all of a sudden do something a little bit of a different way? Because there are going to be administrators out there, presumably, that are listening to this that are like, well, I'd love to try to do something a little bit different than what all the other schools in our district do. Mm-hmm. But I also know that I'm going to have to sit there and listen to all those other principals, all the people, all the superintendent coming behind me and saying, like, you're not doing it the way, this isn't how we've done it here in whatever district. How do you set yourself up to not crumble under that pressure potentially?
Well, that's a great question, Justin, because number one, you have to believe in it. Like, you have to, I can do no other. I stand before you and I can do, and there has to be that conviction. Only thing I have to offer is grit, and I think you have to have a lot of that. Leadership is consistent character with competence. That's what leadership is. You're consistent. You rooted yourself, and you have a degree of skill and competence. And I, it's funny because I can't remember, Katie, if I said this to the church or not, but somebody asked me a while back, would you do this again? And I said, I think I would do it again, but I didn't know what I was getting into. Yeah. I had no idea what I was getting into. That's why I would not do ministry unless I absolutely had to do it, which I did. It was just, I can do no other. And, that is a great question, because that's where people quit. It just like, this isn't worth it. And for me, it's always been worth it to make something that is different. And in my leader, Jesus, our leader, he got it from both sides. And when you get it from both sides, you're probably in the right area. You're probably in a sweet spot of sorts if you're getting it from both sides. And I've gotten it from liberals. I've gotten it from conservatives. I've lost friendships that are people who are liberal. I've lost friendships with people who are, I'm not conservative enough for them. I'm not, and you just have to. And that's why I think the big thing that I hate, Brooke Cups, who's the basketball coach at Centerville, he and I are really, really good friends. And we talk about this a lot. That I think what's hard about your position, that is hard about most church positions, but we structured ourselves differently. We structured it to where I serve that apostolic role. I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. That means I'm the leader. That's dangerous. It's dangerous. Yeah. In America, we do not like that. But we chose that because, number one, God never said, I'm going to put a committee together and lead my people. He never did. There was always a singularity in the context of plurality. So Brooke and I talk about this a lot, because the answer to your question is the story of the battleship and the lighthouse. You ever heard that story? So the battleship and the lighthouse, we talk about this. We'll probably talk about it. We're meeting tomorrow. We'll probably talk about it tomorrow, because we talk about it all the time. And he's the great example of this in my life. There's a call that comes over the radio. Attention, this is a battleship, Class A battleship. This is Captain Jones. You need to change course 10 degrees. Radio comes back. This is second class Seaman Smith. You need to change course 10 degrees. comes back. You do not understand. I am a Class A battleship. I am a captain with authority over you. You need to change course 10 degrees. And the seaman comes back and says, you don't understand. I am a lighthouse. You change course 10 degrees. And it's a shorter version of the story. But the point of the story is I think in every organization that excels, somebody's the lighthouse. And somebody's got to be, like the parents don't run Brooks' program. Like a lot of schools, that happens. Mm-hmm. The parents run the program. If the right people are putting the pressure on, and he's probably going to hate it that I'm bringing this up, but Brooks the lighthouse. And I say this in all fear and trembling. I'm the lighthouse at Southbrook. And that's scary to me. It's, I do it in the context of plurality. Our leadership and vision teams, I don't do anything without them. But it's, it is risky. And I think, for there to be change socially, educationally, people got to look. Because I think, Katie, you would agree, people look at me as the lighthouse, right? It's not something I just grab a hold of and I say, hey, get out of my way. I'm going to, I'm going to cast light where, it's not that way. But somebody has got to be where I want her to be our lighthouse.
Yeah. Ultimately, somebody has to make the final
They do.
call,
somebody has
right?
to make the
you
final
have to make
call.
the final decision.
The FAA says there's got to be a pilot, and the co-pilot may be every bit as qualified, but there can't be a vote in the cockpit. There has to be someone that says, we're changing course 10 degrees.
Yeah.
Taking this back for a second. So something that Katie's talked about a lot as far as leadership within the schools and that she's kind of promoted, I feel like, and I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on it, Charlie, ultimately, is then she's referenced like still not, there's clearly she's the one in charge, right? Mm-hmm. She's the one that a lot of stuff falls back on, kind of like what you're describing. There's ultimately somebody that's in charge. But then, excuse me, she's found people that she has around her that are, again, kind of you can call it in that distributive leadership role. You could also talk about it in like a support role of some sort. And she said several times, man, this work that we're doing in changing schools, super hard. Not sure how anybody would do it if they didn't have people around them that also support.
Question.
How do you find those people in an organization or of any sort as a leader? How do you find who
You're
those
always
people
looking.
Are?
You're always recruiting. The recruiting never stops. Because even though I have this person that I'm working with that is first class, nobody is forever. I look at it through my lens of 34 years and I think, so-and-so quit after 20. What's wrong with him? Well, wait a minute. 20 years is a long time. And I'm always looking for, I'm always telling people, who's your apprentice? Who's your apprentice? So we have that system at Southbrook. We're always saying that. But you have got to always recruit. I think this is where authenticity, vulnerability, those buzzwords come in because people trust those they know. And if you lead in a way that lets people in on not just your stars, but your scars, they trust you over time. So Kathy Glista, I've worked with her for 31 years now. We've worked closely together. And
she knows all the secrets.
She knows all the secrets. Yeah. And she is, we're like brother and sister.
Yeah.
She knows all the secrets. And I found out she had told someone else, and I'm sharing this because of the question. She said, I would jump off a cliff for Charlie. And I'm mentoring right now 5 young pastors, and I tell them, I said, the reason you have to be consistent with your character over time is that's the only formula for trust to really get built. And that's where people start going, you know what? I would jump off a cliff for her. And when I don't agree with her and she says, I want to go this way, I say, joyfully, I'll go that way with you. Joyfully. Not, Katie wants to do this. No, I trust her. And I trust that she even knows she might be wrong. But she's willing to bear that weight. Yeah. She's willing to bear that weight. So I just think that's why consistent character over time produces people like that produces people like that produces people like that, on and on.
Yeah, I see a big error. Sorry, we're sharing a mic, so it's been tricky today. I see a big error in school districts is that we don't allow the distributed leadership. It's like solo, isolated decisions, and then it's trickled down and I just think, gosh, if you build the culture and climate by building the people to go along and make it a collective decisions and mission with your guidance. Of course, you're the lighthouse with the research, but I see that as a big shift when we talk about trauma-informed schools. It's getting that collective buy-in through finding those experts in your building those leadership, getting buy-in from the grows and the ones that disagree too, getting their feedback. How do you get those late adopters bought into what you're doing? But I see that as definitely something we need to foster within the educational system, is to get that leadership.
I think the thing that you guys have going for you that we also have going for us is it's not working out there. People know that their children are reaching unprecedented levels of anxiety, and impact is when message meets need. When you intersect those two, where there's a need and then there's a message that intersects with that, man, that's when the atom gets split. And you guys have that. That there's the whole science of understanding trauma now, and it's I think people know enough probably to be dangerous, but they know enough to know there's a need. What you guys are doing, there is a need.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like anything, all right, and I'm sure you've come across this in all kinds of areas too. Like then what gets dangerous about that is people that know a little bit.
Yes.
And then want to talk a lot about like they know a lot. I certainly, I'm not saying we're the ones that know all the things, but we run into that a lot. We actually, and we were talking about this a little bit before things started. One of the things I say is usually the greatest barrier to the work that we're doing and trying to pass on is when people catch one side of it. And they're like, they catch the part that feels really good from their angle, which can be offensive to people, I know, but like you really have to watch yourself, because there's a part of it that's like, that lands in, man, we have to be really, really loving and caring and, supportive of kids. And obviously we do. Like nobody's saying we shouldn't do that. But if we only do that in the lens of we just want to make the kids feel the best they can, well, that's different than growing kids into better kids and adults.
There's no growth without discomfort.
And man, that's hard. And that's one of the dangers, I think.
I agree. That is a tough job, but boy, are you hitting the nail on the head there.
Okay, so one of the things that I think there's like a parallel too between churches and schools. We've got a lot of times you've got families, they don't get to choose on our end. A lot of times if they come to our building or not, they get to choose if they come to your building potentially, but or hopefully they don't get to choose if they come to our building. But either way, one of our main goals is to try to have a culture, a climate built where people want to be there. They feel welcome there. They feel supported there. What are things that you think cross over between both kinds of organizations that help people feel welcomed, wanted, and accepted at a place?
Yeah, I think number one, and I'm not telling you guys anything, is safety, literal physical safety. But, we work with kids a lot, and, don't use sarcasm with kids. If I can get onto a microphone and tell people, stop using sarcasm with kids. It's unsafe. It makes them uncertain. They don't, is she serious? Is it, they don't know. Yeah. So there's just little things like that there's just nothing that replaces emotional intelligence. And not, the other thing is you don't try to impress people. It sounds funny because you would think that where we really work at trying to impress people. We don't. We really work hard at being who we are. Yeah. We want church to be fun. So if we make it as fun as we can make it, there's probably a lot of people who are kind of similar to us. That's all we've done, is that they don't want church to be boring and lifeless and the frozen chosen. And the same thing's true with any kind of dynamic with making people and what you guys are doing feel, there's got to be physical and emotional safety. There's got to be good humor without being frivolous. There's got to be lightheartedness without sarcasm. There's just those basic things that, we all know as leaders, we just regret the times when we use sarcasm. Why did I do that? I was not sure what to say next, so I said something. I tried to be funny, and I got sarcastic. And kids are going, and I watch all the time. So I watch when one of our leaders is using sarcasm. I can watch the kids and go, they're not getting this. It's just making them feel like this person does not connect with me. So I think that I'm really big on that. Is safety, good humor, levity with gravity. Obviously, people want their time to be valuable. Yeah. Their time is valuable. They want their time usage to be valued, and so we work really hard at that. I think, again, Katie, we've created a place where people don't come because they feel guilty if they don't. That's one thing probably we've done right, is people come because they want to be there. They do not want to miss, and so we get a lot of people who just watch online when they can't get there. But safety is so much of it.
Yeah, I think then something that I know Katie's worked at here a lot. Maybe you can speak to it a little bit, and then Charlie, you can jump in and talk about this from your side as well. Like pulling in, it's one thing to have whether it's congregation, right, or our students and families. But then there's another aspect where it's actually the staff that we have that's working, alongside of us. And what ways, if you're an administrator out there listening to this as a school, you go through hiring times. By the time this airs, I don't know exactly when, you're probably already starting to think about positions that you're going to have to replace for next year. And so as you're thinking about that, what are some specific things, Katie, if you want to start out, looking for, and how have we kind of shifted hiring from when even you first started?
Yeah, so I think what you're wanting me to kind of guide me to, honestly, we created our belief statements, because there's one thing to have a mission and vision, which always, most schools say, every child will succeed to their best capability.
Some version of that.
Yeah, some version of that, right?
They don't want them.
Yeah, exactly.
So I thought, gosh, that's so generic. We're doing something really, really uniquely special here. That's so different than any other school I've been at. And why is this different? And it's really our beliefs about children and how we approach each other and our community and our families. And so we have 5 essential belief statements that are aligned to our strategic plan for our district and our portrait of an elk. But they are very unique to our building, that talks a lot about looking at the child holistically, adaptability. We have a big STEM initiative at our building. We talk about community impact, that we always support each other. It's never okay to give up on anybody, that everyone will be successful here. And then all are welcome here, that we accept every child or person as they are when they come in, and then we work from where they're at there and we'll grow them. So we looked at that, and we really have changed our hiring practice. That old saying, you hire character, you train skills. And so that shifted our hiring practices. We came in to really make sure that we have people that are sharing the same belief system about children, and that we'll train you on anything. We've set up systems to train people. Our new staff goes through a separate training than our regular staff because they've already been through it. So we've tried to set up models so that we're always catching up the new people with what the older veteran staff has gone through or have been through with this process. So
that is really cool. The hardest thing in leadership, I think, is hiring.
Yes.
It's the hardest thing. There's no doubt.
It's the most important one,
it's
because it will change your...
That's exactly right. They define your culture. And we just I just want to get this over with. And so sometimes we'll just cut corners because we just want to, I think she's the best one, and boy, that is, and that's where those 5 serve you. Yeah. Because they act, not that you do this literally, they act as checkpoints. Yeah. And really a determinative, like, she's really strong in 4 out of these 5. Is it worth it for us to take a risk on the one that's not there? And you have to weigh that out, because sometimes it is. Yeah. But I applaud that because, like the thing that I probably have struggled most with in leadership, leaders aren't good hirers. Why? Because what makes you good at what you do is you believe in people. Yeah. So your tendency is to overlook what may be a major flaw, but you overlook that because you see what he can bring. You see what he can bring, and you believe in your ability to lead, so you believe you'll lead them out of there. And I very seldom have you let someone out of a character flaw. I mean, it just doesn't, to me, in my experience, it doesn't happen. And so I more than ever, I mean, we have a consultant in London, England that we use. We're on the phone with him every week because, you know what? I'm not good at it. I am just not a good hirer. I am not. I've had some obviously some good, really good hires. I mean, really
Everybody
good.
that you've hired is questioning now.
Yeah, I know, exactly. They hear me say this a lot, and they go, because they always say that. They always go, "You hired me, Charlie." But Kevin, and I do, and I have people that I hired that I've literally worked 30 years with. So I'm not. Sure. I mean, something good has happened. Yeah, but I've had some bombs.
And it changes the culture and climate.
It does. Yeah. It does. And by the way, you're most vulnerable to make a bad hire when you're desperate, when you're emotionally drained.
You feel like your back's up against the wall.
That's exactly right. I just need a pulse. If somebody has a pulse, they're qualified. If their hand, they breathe and there's air.
We've actually said that. This is like a conversation we've had before. I don't know, because will that work?
I know. And then you're really, so you have to look at what you're vulnerable. I like people with personality. I just don't like, dead people. Yeah. As far as leaders go, duds.
Well, it'd be a hard follow in your business to not have an engagement.
Yeah, it really would. And so, I'm a big believer in Dale Carnegie's mantra that success is 85% personality and 15% technology. In other words, it's not about what you know. It's about your ability to get along with people, motivate people, serve people, etc. And that's true. Well, sometimes someone is, some of my worst hires were people that were just so skill-wise good that I overlook some things. Yeah.
I think that's a good warning to admin out there. I think that especially in schools, what we see a lot is we look at the resume and we're like, hey, this person's going to be great. And they might be. Like, and there's resumes are great, but hopefully nobody's putting together a terrible resume. And if they are, they're not getting very far either. But you gotta actually get in there and find out, I think, do they fit with who we are?
I agree. And that's where you're 5, Katie. That's where they come in handy, because if you really believe in those are not just idealized values. They're realized. You've seen them happen. You want to see them happen more because you've seen them happen. Then, man, are those going to serve you? Because they're buoys, right? They're buoys in the hiring process that keep you off the rocks. That's what they do. And what's the hiring in this season of in education right now? It's really easy to hire people, or it's hard to find people?
We have no educators right now. The hiring rate it's like a third of the people left going to education. We are on an education shortage right now.
That's what I
thought. So it's more important the staff retention, to incentivize people to stay in education or to not quit or keep those longevity positions going because of the shortage.
Well, then I would say this, because ministry's the same way. You can't hire anybody to work at a church anymore. Yeah. You can't hire anybody to work at hospitals anymore. Nurses are getting beaten to a pulp like educators are. Mm-hmm. We used to have the mantra, vision dies those 5 die every 90 days. It's 9 days now. I think, did we talk about this already?
Yeah, it's on the phone.
Yeah, we were on the phone. And I think that's true. And so if it's retention, then you need to talk about those 5 as if, oh my gosh, I've been talking about these too much. And you're probably talking about them about the right amount. Yeah. When you feel like we are talking about these too much and people are going, I'm sick of hearing about those 5, Katie, you're probably talking about them.
That's a good reminder.
You got to use illustrations. You got to change the flavor of the coffee, right? Yeah. But it's got to be the same coffee. It's just good. You got to change it. You got to give different stories, different anecdotes that back those up. Celebrate when you see number 4 happening. Celebrate that. But this is the thing that I used to talk our vision all the time, and I don't enough anymore.
Yeah. Good anchor for us both. I'm going to over talk it. You're going to bring it back up. Good. This is a good moment for both of us.
Yes, absolutely.
So we're going to be able to do that. I would really love for you to share, because a lot of educators listen to this podcast, and you have something really cool going on with Playersbox. Mm-hmm. And I think, can you share a little bit about what that is, and then really the steps you take to get a large initiative like this off the ground? I think school leaders all the time are trying to get large initiatives or projects off the ground, and just really understanding how you're able to do this.
Yeah. So Playersbox started really in the 90s when I was coaching basketball, and I started seeing student athletes that just hated it. And I mean, I remember having a conversation with a junior. She was second team All-State. And I said, Shannon, what is wrong? She goes, I hate it. I'm not playing anymore. And I just remember going, second team All-State? Something's wrong. And then my children both went through the high school process. And my son, I was a small college All-American basketball player. He was so much better than I was. I mean, he was a Big Ten guard waiting to happen. And by his senior year, he didn't even play. He was so deep into depression. We would find out drug use. As Katie knows, he's one of our teaching pastors today, a father of 3. It's an amazing story. But that's when I said, I'm not going to let this happen to another kid. It was a perfect formula for how to destroy a kid, including my lack of awareness of my pressure I put on him that I didn't even know I did. That we parents don't realize that it's often not what you do wrong, but what you do right that puts pressure on your kid, because they question, my parents are both PhDs and work at Wright Pat. Do I have that? Yeah. I don't think I have that. They all question that. And, as we say it in Playersbox, the temperature in the room goes up when you walk into the room. Trust me. If you are in any way a functional adult, responsible, successful. And so we developed a program, PLAY, personality type. Help a child understand their personality type. You'll help them understand how pressure affects them, their learning style, visual, auditory, kinesthetic. You'll help them understand their practice style. Like how do they process information? Ability level helps them understand purpose. Why are you playing this sport? Many kids never ask that question. Oh, you're not going to play tennis in college? Well, you're going to be one of the top club players in the world. You're going to make people admit, it's okay. That's an okay. Just because, like at Centerville, if you're not going to get a scholarship, it's not worth the time. No. There's a whole different reason you can play. This is one of my favorite parts of play because it's so intimate in terms of getting to know the kid that, Amber, it's okay. You're going to love tennis the rest of your life and be really good at it. I tell them this, kids that play at Centerville, if you play tennis at Centerville, you're in the top 3% of all people who play tennis in the world.
Wow.
Not all professionals. Okay. Katie, what are you going to be top 3% in your life? So anyway, ability level gives us a chance to talk about their purpose. Why are you doing this? And then why is the big one in this area? Yes factor. That's where we teach in positivity, because kids' self-talk is awful. Mostly because we parents don't celebrate success because we expect it. So we don't learn the neurological reality of anchoring outcomes so that our brain hears, let's do that again. Yep. We are heavy on that because most kids give a negative emotional outburst when they do it wrongly, which they don't understand that their brain only hears the chemicals of that emotion, and that your brain hears, let's miss that again the next time we have that forehand down the line. Let's miss that again next time we have that 10-foot baseline shot. And we're big on teaching how to anchor outcomes so that your brain hears, let's do that again. Let's do that again. So we're big in habit formation. We've serviced about 100 schools, including Centerville. We've served a bunch of faculties. We've served 1,000 kids. I mean, we as Katie knows, we turned our whole facility into a Playersbox facility. The idea of the Playersbox comes from the world of theater and sports, where the group, the family, the friends that sit in the players' box to just support them. And so that's what we are. We don't care if Katie is first team All-State. We want her to be competitive because that's how character grows, but that's not our goal. Our goal is that they learn to play again. Yeah. Because when the athlete that plays, the artist that paints, the academic that studies out of love is dangerous. Any one of those art, athletics, academics that do it out of fear are temporary. They're not going to last. They're not going to last. So the essence of our deal is that fear cannot coexist with love, and we're just trying to build that into them. So I love this moment. All our mantras that we use, and it's just, for me, it's been cool because we literally have kids that were You know what? She's like a daughter to me. Her senior year, she was second team All-State, and she quit. Sure, the pressure just got to her, and it was the Playersbox relationships that in the middle of her senior year, she quit basketball for 2 weeks, and we just helped her through that. We didn't care if she played again. She ended up playing 4 years at the University of Michigan, was all Big Ten last year. She's playing professionally in Italy right now.
Wow.
And it was not, like anything, those 5 tenets, those are your, their structure, and they're really important, but they're simply agency for the relationship.
Yeah.
The relationship is what really matters. So play, helping the kid understand personality type, learning style, ability level, yes factor, it's really important stuff, because we're helping kids. We want you to know who you are and whose you are. It's all important. What matters is we're going to be, we say our goal is to be at your graduation party, because that's the relationship we have with you. That's our goal. So we're raising up coaches to, your goal is to be at her graduation party, his graduation party, because of the relationship.
Yeah, I think it's just been a really cool program. My daughter's gone through it, and I have appreciated a lot of the character things you talk about are very much similar to the things that we have initiatives going on in our school. They're very much aligned, and so just super excited that you started that for kids.
Running out of time, which is fine. I think this has been a really good conversation. It's been fun.
Good.
Yeah, it's been
I know,
good. I don't think
tough.
any of the three of us are probably overly brief people. So
I am not. I can talk. You talk about leadership too. I could talk forever about that and not say anything worthwhile either.
Well, one thing I want us to get to, we're gonna kind of wrap up. I do want us to. We always kind of end talking about one thing you want people to walk away with. If they had to walk away with one thing, remembering from this podcast, from our conversation today, what would it be? Kind of maybe coupled with that, but as Katie's thinking of her answer, I'll have her go first. I do want to ask you, what would you say though? How do you get through the hard days? Because there are people out there that they are in the rough part of a school year. They're a leader. Yeah,
you guys, you're in the dog days right now, aren't you?
And they're maybe struggling, and they're thinking, this is terrible, and why did I ever sign up for this, whatever. What's maybe a word of encouragement you could offer them as a leader as we think about wrapping it up?
Yeah, one of the things that struggle does is if there's an ounce of shame in us, that shame capitalizes on that struggle to say, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
That's one of the things we do in Playersbox is we normalize struggle. Struggle doesn't mean, I'm a big fan of Carol Dweck. My educational hero is Carol Dweck. And what does she say with the growth mindset? The growth mindset, the fixed mindset says, if I were really talented, if I were really smart, this wouldn't be this hard. The growth mindset says, this is hard. I'm normal. That means it's worthwhile, and I'm going to learn through my failures. And I just think I would say to all you educators that are doing the work, you are doing the work, that it is normal to struggle. It is normal to have days where you go, what am I doing? You're doing something that kids don't come up to you and say, oh my gosh, Justin, you are changing my life. No. They may come up to you 30 years from now if they happen to run into you at Kroger and say, by the way, but I doubt that either. But the other thing is you have to take care of yourself. You have to live with margin financially, time-wise, emotionally, physically. You can't live on the edge and be an educator. You have to live with margin because there's too many interruptions that come up. There are too many things that come up that are energy zappers. And if you guys are trying to live the American dream, I love America. I love where I grew up. The American dream is a mirage. The idea that you can have it all. You can have it all for a little while, but you can't have it all very long. And if you got each kid in 3 things, and you're trying to have a marriage, and you're trying to be
career.
Both of you have a career, which is, well, let's be honest, it's most people in Centerville, right? Most people in Centerville. That's and I would just say, take care of yourself so that you can live with margin. It's okay to be 10 minutes early. Why? Because you have margin. It's okay. That would be one thing I would say is I think Sherry and I, people know in our church, Friday nights, don't even ask me to do something because that's always been our night. We always do that. I mean, I've been really disciplined about that kind of stuff. Taking care of myself, having fun, working hard, playing hard.
Yeah. I'm learning. Justin's much better at it than I am, but he
Maybe
reminds me often.
Maybe I go too far there.
But think about it, Katie. Your job never ends.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a formula for longevity.
Yeah.
If you don't set limits, sorry, you're not going to last long.
Yeah.
But if you do, you can last a long time.
She's getting a lot better at it.
I am.
Good.
Yeah.
You, Justin, you encourage her because she's great at what she does, and I think if your job is something you go, I want to do this 10 years, then that's fine. But if like for me, I just celebrated 40 years of ministry. I want to go till I'm 90. It's like, so I'm living. You don't run a marathon the same way you run a 100-yard dash.
Yeah.
You
got to slow down a little bit.
You got to slow down a little bit.
All right, well, let's jump into the end here. Katie, what would you want people to walk away with knowing from this episode?
All right, I think this is interesting, something Charlie said to us on the phone before we were calling to set this up. He said if an organization's not growing, it's dying. And I've been thinking about that since you've said that to me, and I would say for people that are leading this work, if you're feeling stagnant, if you feel like there isn't that collective buy-in, that you are not continuously like inventing yourself and bringing those new ideas and getting people excited about coming to work, that's part of the culture and climate. Keep it growing. If you feel when you feel like it's dying, that's a time to start feeding it back into there, because it can, especially when you've been in education 30, 40 years, it's easy to say, this is just how I do it. I would challenge people to start thinking differently about how can I continue to grow and how our organization can continue to grow.
I love that. You have to keep growing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 64. I'm still growing. Yeah. I'm really growing. That's it.
Yeah. As it becomes your turn, I want you to also share with people how they can get in touch with you or some of the things going on at Southbrook. What is a good way to anchor back?
Yeah, and then southbrook.org. And, my assistant, Rita Hauser, she'll answer
if he's available or not.
Exactly, but I think that's how you.
Reach out to Rita.
Reach out to Rita, and she's been with me since '94. So we know each other quite well, and she actually lives right here. When I was coming to your house, I thought, oh my gosh, Rita's gonna go. What is Charlie's truck doing there? I don't know if you know Bud and Rita Hauser. Do you know them? That's Rita is my. That's She's
made that full connection.
Just contact me through that, and you can go to Playersbox.org and contacts Playersbox. Contact us through that, and like I say, we do faculties. We love this. We just want to serve people. That's it. We want to serve faculty. We want to serve students, and
that's good.
Give them some energy, give them some fuel, training.
What would one thing you'd want people to walk away with knowing
today?
Yeah.
It's a thing that I think that I thought I was good at, that then I learned I wasn't good at, and because of that, I've gotten better at it. That there's no replacement for emotional intelligence, just growing and reading people, listening more. I used to think I was good at it, and then in a very humiliating way, in 2007, I learned I wasn't. I didn't have the self-awareness that I thought I had, and I still have a long way to go. But my kids tell me today, Dad, you're really present. When you're there, you're present. I just think that's huge. It's funny. Yesterday, I do this. Dale Carnegie said one time, winning friends influence people. The sweetest sound in the world to a man is the sound of his own name. So I work really hard at remembering names. So I met.
It's not my strength.
Really,
I know. I need to work at it.
Well, people say, I don't know if it is mine either, but I work really hard at it. So yesterday I met Antonio, and Mallory came up to me, and she goes, Charlie, I just want to thank you, Southbrook. You guys are helping our school. She teaches somewhere in town. She goes, you're helping us. And so I said, thanks, Antonio. Thanks, Mallory. Then after church, I met Sam and Kai. And the reason I remember them is because I have a rule. And this will help you. I have a rule.
Let's hear it.
So here it is. Ready. Practical. I say this. I say, okay, Justin, next 2 times you see me, and it can just be you're walking past me in the atrium. You go, Justin, you got to tell me your name. Next 2 times. After that, I have to remember your name. If you don't talk to me for 6 months, I get to start over.
Okay. All right.
And that's and so what happens is often, like, there's a gal, her name's Cheryl. I remember, because I have ways that I remember, like I have a sister named Cheryl. So I remember Cheryl, she's about my sister's age. Yeah. I remember, but I did that thing, and then I saw her, and she would see in the atrium, she'd go, Cheryl. She would just walk by me and go, Cheryl. And now I probably will never forget Cheryl's name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't see her that often. But anyway, why is that? Is that it's you know, our church is large. Yeah. People, I hate it when I forget someone's name. Not because I'm codependent about it. It's just because, you know, people matter. And I also realize the imago Deus that people put on pastors, that, oh my gosh, it's like God forgot my name if you don't remember my name, you know. It's terrible. I mean, it's embarrassing to even use that, you know, comparison. But anyhow, I would say that in a depersonalized era, we've, you know, to say someone's name, to say a kid's name, I make sure Playersbox remember their names. We give them name tags. Remember their names, you know. Yeah, so that's just, that all fits under the emotional intelligence category, I think, you know. Absolutely. I work really hard at it, and I'm not very good at it either.
Yeah, I need to still keep working at it. I need to keep working at it. Well, I think for me, I just think, learning what you can about, if you're a leader out there, I think learn what you can about leadership, right? Yeah. I think that's an important thing. I think go out, figure out what it is. You heard Charlie several times today talk about leadership, people in leadership that have nothing to do with churches, which is where he's at, right? And he's studied those kind of people. We talk frequently about studying and learning from people that have nothing to do with education. There's a lot of truth and understanding that's out there that doesn't have to be just in your discipline area. So I think if you're a leader, become good at being a leader. Learn about what other leaders have done that's been successful. And then I think we're in a people business. I think the more, and I harp on this maybe too much, but learn how people work. Mm-hmm. Learn people. Learn what makes people work for you. Learn what makes people feel valued. Learn what makes people hurt. I think learn what you can do to interact with people. Just the more you can learn about people in general. This is what you do for a living out there, whether you're an administrator, whether you're a teacher, you are constantly working with people. Figure out as much as you can about people. And I think that doesn't hurt you. You're always, to Katie's point kind of earlier, you know, you're going to learn how to teach a new math curriculum in 3 years when the district buys a new one. You're going to learn how to do a new English program whenever. You're going to always be able to learn how to teach the next thing you're supposed to teach. The thing that nobody's teaching you how to do very consistently with any kind of fidelity, I think, is learning about who people are. And so take the time to do that. Learn about leadership. If this is something that you liked, that you found valuable, man, share it with other people so you can have a conversation about it. I think there's a lot of value in talking about the things you're learning about. So do that. Reach out to us, reach out to Charlie. I think either of those things are fine. We would all love to hear from you. And as we always say, as we wrap up, let's go out there and do the work.
Let's do it.